Hello there. We're back on the Beast Quest Ferno, yes! It's been a long time, and we're still in Ferno, but we're on chapter 5, I think? Maybe? Let me just check. 5,000 years last time. Okay, yes, we are in chapter 5. It did not take me 3 hours to figure that out. Do not worry. It's probably not. It's not like I had to search up my channel on YouTube just to figure it out. I'm not guilty. Okay, so we're on chapter 5, Gathering Storm. Tom woke early the next morning. Where was he? As he looked around at the big stone windows and the painting on the wall, he suddenly remembered. He was in the king's palace, in one of the royal guest bedrooms. Excited, he jumped out of the bed immediately. New clothes had been laid out on... It's just a thing. Also, I did not pause the color. You guys can see that, right? Yeah. There, let's storm it. Let's storm, I think. Let's storm. Next to it. Adventure salutes you for failing. Okay, a wooden chest near the room. Tom slipped on the dirt trousers and woolen long sleeve top. Over that he wore a plain blue tunic. Tom smiled proudly as he looked at his reflection in the mirror. He looked ready for his adventure. Then he felt a moment of doubt. Why are you doing this? Can I really succeed where Adventure's bravest knights have failed? Yes, you can, came a soft voice behind him. With a start, Tom turned to find Adira at the door. He was holding a sword and a large wooden shield. You may think you are an unlikely hero, Adira went on. But in strange times, all things are possible. This is a long chapter. Tom nodded. I suppose they are. Adira stepped in the room. Slowly, Tom knelt on the cold stone floor before him. He didn't know why, but it felt like the right thing to do. Adira raised the sword into the air, and for a moment, Tom could swear that it glowed, lighting up the dust that danced around the air around him. Adira and Tom gazed up at the sword, and then Adira brought it down so that the tip of the sword rested gently on Tom's chest, next to his heart. Why did he do that? May this boy have the strength of heart to save Avantia. The wizard's voice rang around the room. Tom bent his head. Then Adira drew the sword and gently pulled Tom to his feet, smiling. Adira held the hilt of the sword out to Tom. For you, he said. Simply, Tom took the sword. It fitted his grip perfectly and felt far lighter than the poker he was used to. Perfect, he said. Now Adira passed him the polished wooden shield. It was well crafted, but very plain. Tom remembered seeing the knights occasionally riding through his village with their bright, colorful shield. He couldn't help feeling a twinge of disappointment. I would too, honestly. Appearances can be deceptive. So true. Very true. Even though I look nerdy, doesn't mean I'm not sport. It's not like I don't play sport. I play soccer, man. On your quest, you will find alleys in the strangest of places and the unlikeliest of forms. But you have a wise head, Tom. Trust your instincts. Now, I have other gifts for you. He took a parchment scroll from his pocket. It was just like the one Edward the Page had been holding the night before. This is the this could be dangerous, man. That's dangerous, man. Trying to turn the page to be like. As Adira unrolled it, Tom saw it was a map of Avantia. He stepped forward to get a better look, and as he watched, the map came to life. How is that a thing? Oh, wait, he made it. Never mind. Trees and hills and the mountain rose up from the paper, standing as tall as Tom's thumb. Cautiously, he reached out to touch one of the white mountains of the north. His finger came away glittering with frost. Tom looked up at Adiro, startled. The wizard nodded at the map. Look closer, he commanded. Now Tom saw tiny twisting paths spring up like veins on the pale parchment. They slowly spread across the map towards the southwest, where mountains stood dark and unwelcoming. Ferno's mountain, guessed Tom. Yes, Adiro held up the golden key Tom had been shown the night before. A loop of leather cord had been threaded through it, and Adiro hung the key through Tom's neck like a medal. Only if you set Ferno free can we begin to put right to Malvo's evil. You must unlock the enchanted collar that imprisoned him. I will do what I can, Tom promised. Now you must go, Adiro said, handing Tom the map. Your horse is waiting for you outside. Is this the part where he gets Storm, I think? Storm or Silver? Tom took his sword and shield and followed Adiro through the palace and out to the stable yard where a groom stood with a jet black stallion. At the sight of Adiro, the horse whinnied in a greeting and tossed his head. It had a white marking in the shape of an arrowhead between its eyes, and the brown leather of its saddle gleamed brightly. The stallion's name is Storm, he said. Adiro, he is young and fast. Storm pulled away from the groom and trotted over to them. He pushed his nose against Tom's shoulder and gazed at him. Tom beamed. I think we'll get along, Storm, he said. Adiro held his sword and shield as Tom scrambled up onto the horse, his back. Then he handed them up to him. Tom looked down at the wizard. What will happen to my village and my uncle and aunt? They are relying on me to help. A cart is on this way there with food and water, said Adiro. The driver will tell your uncle that you have been sent on a special errand for the king, and that you will return when you can. Tom patted Storm's neck. Thank you, Adiro, and goodbye. Farewell, my young friend. All our hopes go with you. Tom nodded and kicked his heels against Storm's side. Storm cantered away, out through the palace courtyard and into the hectic city streets, his hooves clattering on the cobbles as he swerved round carts and passerbys. Tom saw the open city gates looming up ahead and felt his face flushed with excitement. Soon he would be on his own. Faster, Storm, he urged. Storm galloped out through the gates, and as they burst onto the grassy plains outside the city, Tom gave a wild whoop. This was it! His adventure had begun. Not only was Storm the fastest horse he had ever ridden, but he also seemed to understand exactly what Tom wanted him to do. He slowed down at the slightest pull on the reins and sped up the second Tom touched his sides with his heels. By late afternoon, they had reached the southern edge of the grassy plains. A vast forest stretched out before them. It looked dark and mysterious and rather forbidding. But the map showed that the quickest way to the Dragon Mountain was to cut straight through the forest. Come on, Storm, Tom said, carefully guiding the stallion into the trees. I think it's this way. The trail twisted and turned. As they headed deeper into the forest, the trees seemed to get thicker and pressing closer. Far above him, the sky was dull, and Tom felt a wave of panic as the gnarled trees and bushes seemed to be reaching out to grab him. Storm's ears flickered as if he sensed Tom's concern. They carried on until they came to a small clearing where the path seemed to end. Tom dismounted, pulling his sword from its sheath. He started slashing at the dense undergrowth to clear a way forward. A rustling sound caught his ear. He stood still and listened. Who's there? Tom called. There was no answer. Pressing on, Tom chopped through a thick tangle of brambles, his heart filled with dread. This place... Okay, this is what's wrong. What? If it looks blue for you, leave it in the comments, but that's all. That's the best I can do. Alright, so there you go. Do you like it? It's good, actually. But it does actually look like it's going warm. Look, this tree is rather close to me. Something didn't feel right, and now he was sure that something awful was watching him. But taking hold of Storm's reins, he began pushing his way through the thicket. Growl! A set of gleaming yellow flames snapped in his face. With a shout of alarm, Tom leapt back against Storm. A wolf! Its great fur was matted and its amber eyes were wild and staring. Its huge paws were like clubs and ended in lethal claws. Its teeth were bare in a vicious growl as it prepared to spring. That was the end of chapter 5. That's such a cliffhanger. Do you actually think he's gonna attack him? Leave it down in the comment section. Please subscribe, hit that notification bell, and smash that like button if you please. Come for the dragon and the rest of the beasts. I'm not telling you which. Salute you if you join on the next episode.